everybody, and welcome again to TableTakes here at Gen Con TV. I want to just do a quick recap. Derek, how have you been feeling? Moving in. Are you getting settled finally?
Yep, I think we might be this close to having enough shelves. Maybe. I think we have all the shelves that we need from IKEA. I just need to get some sort of DVD shelf. Probably think I can fit it somewhere. And I have started filling all the shelves with X-Men Omnibuy.
Why are you looking behind you?
Because they're over there.
Oh, those shelves, are they real shelves? Can you touch those shelves?
Do you have to touch something to know that it's real? Isabella, are your dreams not real?
What about love?
Don't talk about my dreams. Just touch your shelves, Derek. What's wrong? They're real shelves. Touch them.
They are. Look how real they are.
Very tangible.
I want to know, you're saying enough shelves, all the shelves that you need for now or for the future?
For now,
so you're never going to get any games ever again.
A reasonable volume of growth for the future.
Perhaps
a 20% growth.
Oh, how do you measure that? But okay.
Wow, okay.
You measure it by looking at it and just being like, it looks like 20.
Great.
Great math. I like your mathing skills.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Emma? Have you been? I've heard that you've been tinkering and mixing and doing stuff.
I have, yeah. I've talked about before how Abandoned All Artichokes came out of this exercise I assigned to myself, which was to design a board game prototype a day for a week. So 3 or 4 or 10 years ago, or whenever it was that I first just started designing Abandoned All Artichokes, it came out of this game a day prototyping, and I actually put it recurring in my calendar. So every now and then it pops up, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But this time it popped up. I'm like, sure, whatever. I'm just going to do it. So I started on Monday making a prototype a day. Most of them are in our digital tabletop simulator because that's how we're making and testing games these days. But I've stuck with it so far. So 4 days in, haven't done today's yet, but I have done 4 prototypes. And it's a great way if you're a board game designer or any sort of creative, really just to like set the bar and be like, I just quick and dirty. I want to get something out there. I want to make something and have something I can say I did this in a day. It's a great way to jumpstart your creativity. So definitely recommend as an activity if you want to get the juices flowing.
Oh, juices, just like throw everything at the wall. I like that approach. Just throw it at the wall. Isabella, have you been throwing things at the wall or dreaming about throwing things at the wall?
I have been dreaming before I learned that it was outlawed for me to dream. I tried to think about like what have I been doing this whole entire week, and it's just been an absolute blur. Not much has been going on. I hate watched the Oscars and been doing work. I'm under another deadline, which means that suddenly my house needs cleaning, which is how procrastination works. Don't do that. I did organize you can't see, but there's cleaning utensils over here. Got that done. Wow.
Are those shelves even real?
They're not shelves because I stuck my broom and all my other cleaning stuff just directly to the wall with sticky things. It was great.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. That did not help me with my deadline though, surprisingly. So that's been going on. May looks like it's actually going to be really exciting, and there's a couple of games that I'll be playing for the live stream, but I can't announce it. Yeah. There's a couple of live stream games that I'll be doing in May that I'm very excited about, and I'll announce them as soon as I can.
Hint, 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 cough, cough. So keep an eye on that for all of you guys here in chat. Also, guess what I'm doing today? Right after I'm done with TableTakes here, I'm going to get my second vaccine shot today, and then 2 weeks after that, I'll be still wearing a mask because you need to do that. Even if you're vaccinated, just keep people safe. But still, boom, that's a weight off of my shoulders that I'm happy to do, especially because, my family might be coming over to visit me because they got their shots already. So
Congratulations. Yay.
Yay, I get to see my family again. It'll be nice.
Yay. Tell us what the outside world looks like. Can't wait.
Oh, I'll have to brave it. Yes, I will. I will tell you, I'll journal and go across many of the lands. But you know what? There's lots of things to celebrate this week. Derek's gonna be so happy this week and cuddly and having so much fun with his Doom, all of his Doom, and
there's no better
chaos.
way to be happier than just to take a big blanket of grimdark and just wrap yourself up in a little cup of cocoa and just see all the horrible monsters that are going to ravage across the galaxy. So this coming week would normally be Warhammer Fest. Games Workshop would normally have like a convention where they're going to do some previews and release some stuff and have a whole bunch of events. But obviously the world is still in a perpetual... Have we moved on from panini and personal pan pizza? What are we in something?
We're
in a paparazzi now.
We're in a
paparazzi.
We're in a Pineapple Under the Sea, a Pamela Anderson.
Mhm.
I like the Pineapple Under the Sea. So the world still being a Pineapple Under the Sea means that you have to do this all online. So Warhammer Fest this year is going to be entirely online, which means that next week is going to have a wealth of content on Games Workshop's Twitch channel for everyone to follow to get up to speed on what their plans are for the next coming year or so. And they're breaking out each day on different themes. So you kind of know when you might want to watch based on, what part of the Games Workshop media conglomerate empire you are plugged into most. So Monday is Age of Sigmar. So if you like Warhammer Fantasy, if you like the fantasy side of things, that's going to be your day. Tuesday is followed by 40K, which will be my day, hoping that Nurgle gets some blessings on that day. Wednesday is Black Library, and that is the fiction side of Games Workshop. So if you want to read the novels, the audiobooks, things like that, they'll be covering that on Wednesday. Thursday is Boxed Games, and this is kind of the interesting thing where Games Workshop will often release, usually they have a couple of these running at any given time. They release like a box game that doesn't use the full rules for their games, but uses some of the models, uses the same factions and themes that's set in the world. Sometimes it's co-op, sometimes it's not. They just, released Cursed City not too long ago. Blackstone Fortress is one of these. I believe Blood Bowl might be considered one. I'm not sure. So they have a whole day dedicated to those. So we'll get a look at what they're going to start releasing in the next coming year for that. Friday is 40K again, because we probably need more Space Marines. And then Saturday is a mystery surprise. So who knows what will arrive from Games Workshop on Saturday. But that should be a week's worth of excitement for everybody. And then as a somewhat more minor note, this weekend, Games Workshop pre-orders will be resuming. They kind of put a hold on it for a little bit. We're kind of speculating around the internet as to whether it was due to Brexit or supply chain problems or what else. But the new basic set for Necromunda will be released. You can pre-order it on Sunday. It has House Escher, which is basically a gang of 1980s women with mohawks and flamethrowers just kind of running around murdering people.
That looks so
and
cool. I like that.
The other gang it comes with is House Delaylac, I believe, and they are the bad guys from Dark City. So if you want to have 80s Mohawk women killing the bad guys from Dark City, then well,
I'm
there
interested.
you go.
Yeah.
Yep. So Necromunda will go up for pre-order based on everything that Games Workshop has been doing with all of their recent pre-orders. If you are at all interested, you better get ready to make that purchase when it goes live.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, you gotta. I've been hearing your woes because you're like, I gotta announce it, but I don't want to announce it because I want to get a chance to get things. So be prepared to refresh to get all of those beautiful, beautiful prices. And you have a week's worth of stuff to look forward to. But on other notes, what's other than, buying things for yourself and getting things for yourself? Let's talk about giving things to people and gaming for good. Isabella, tell us about it.
Yes. So it's been a really stressful past, what year are we in? What month are we in? Sorry.
That is tough.
It's been a year and 4 months Yep. And it's been really, really hard for a lot of people, including a lot of people who are dealing with their mental health issues. We did talk about gaming and mental health in the previous episode, and this is also a really big thing that I'm very interested in how games influence mental health and how gamers can also help people with their mental health as well. There is a new charity stream that's starting up. This is their debut weekend. They're called Roll for Good. They're starting inside of the EU and the UK, which is called Europe to Americans. It's a land that's outside of America. And they're doing a weekend, which is this weekend, which is already May, which is mind-blowing.
Oh yeah.
And I cannot believe that tomorrow is May. May 1st and May 2nd, and they'll be playing games all weekend to raise money for a group called Mind, which is a charity that helps people access mental health resources. So basically, if you're having any sort of struggles with your mental health, in Europe, they have this thing called health insurance. Love that idea. That's cool. Wish that catches on here in America. But it can also be really hard for people to access mental health stuff immediately as soon as they need it. So this organization helps them to access kind of the resources that they need if they're experiencing crisis or if they have any sort of time-sensitive needs, which is really, really awesome. So the games that they'll be playing for this weekend is Beam Saber, D&D, Honey Heist, City of Mist, and Alien. All those games are super, super fun. So it looks like it's going to be a really cool thing, and they'll be raising money. You can stream their stuff on Twitch, and they also have a Discord server as well that you can join, and they'll be doing that this weekend. And I think that this is their inaugural weekend, but they'll be doing it annually, I believe. So yes, go watch their charity stream. Do like I do. Throw it up on the TV, clean your house, avoid your deadlines like the plague, and do something for a good cause, you know?
Yeah, no, it's very good. And it is another thing to note that, hey, you don't have to feel like mental health is only for people in dire need. Just people in general. Go talk to somebody. It's a relieving thing, especially during these stressful times. We do not shame mental health. We want to, everyone should get therapy. I know that not everybody can afford it, but these programs like these help folks who need that. But you know what? It's okay, because sometimes you just also want to feel the darkness and embrace the darkness and be part of the darkness, and then also be Derek in the darkness.
And that's when you realize the real darkness was inside you all along.
It was the darkness you made along the way.
Yay! Oh.
So when I saw this headline pop up, I was very excited because I felt like Isabella and I might be able to like role play role reversal here, where we have some TV show news announcement about a thing that I'm excited about, and then she could be like, "Well, no, actually, that's going to be terrible."
No, wait a second. Yes, no, yes, no.
Yes, no, yes.
No, yes. But you're going to be positive though. We're not going
to. Do you not see this positive, excited face?
You look honestly like you're in pain.
But so immediately enough, you mentioned that I have got to show you the photo of when I was going through chemo and I had no hair. And I was sensitive to sunlight, and my wife took a photo like in direct sun, and I forgot how to smile, and it's just me going,
"Oh no,
oh
no." Anyway,
no, this story reminds you of that.
Anyway, you all might be familiar with my love of vampire and my love of the world of darkness. So there's some very exciting seed of news or development here, in that it looks like Paradox is working with a number of the people who have been kind of working on a lot of really hot streaming properties lately to begin to develop the world of darkness for TV and film. There's no distribution deal yet. This is not who has been cast in it. It doesn't sound like there's a script or anything like that. It sounds like it's in the very early stages of, you've got an IP that would probably be good for stories. We've got experience putting the stuff on Netflix and Amazon. These folks, Eric Heiserer, is working on flying high on Shadow and Bone right now. And Christine Boylan worked on The Punisher. They're working with a production company called Hive Mind that's behind The Witcher and The Expanse. They also have writing credits on Arrival and Bird Box. So
these are all bangers. These are all bangers.
Yep.
Doesn't that make you feel good about it?
It does. It does. But I also do remember Kindred the Embraced. So there's always that shadow in the back of your mind.
No, I'm getting rid of this right now in the agenda. It's going.
You can delete it from the agenda, but not from my heart. Okay.
But this is really I think it's very I think it's great. I think this is great news. It makes so much sense. I understand that your criticism, I knew that, well, I didn't know because you haven't said it yet, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but my thought was that your criticism was going to be like D&D. It's like there's no kind of like central storyline, so like what exactly do you focus on with the Masquerade, and so I thought you were going to be like, oh, it's too much. And like, there's nothing to focus on. Like, what story are you going to do and stuff like that,
Wow, you make me sound like the worst person.
No, because you always like to take my dreams and you like to be like, remember when things were bad? And then I'm like, no, that'll be great. So I think this is great. They said that they're going to lean into representation and diversity. And it looks like they're specifically starting the project with this in mind, which is great because I want more Black vampires, quite frankly. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the way that I feel about this, like if you remember what I was frustrated with the D&D movie is that a D&D movie doesn't feel like much to me. But I did say that the specific settings for D&D, I do think are a much richer mine to go to for the movies. So like a Dragonlance movie, a Forgotten Realms movie, like that makes sense to me. The D&D movie doesn't. The World of Darkness, I don't think has that same problem because the World of Darkness is a pretty specific setting. So there is still the question of what story they're going to tell. Which game are they going to tap from? Is this going to be about vampires or mages, or is it going to be some boring story about a normal human who finds out there's things like, I don't care about that. Get straight to the monsters.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of interesting directions it could go. I do feel like World of Darkness is well suited for this, but they haven't figured out how to crack it in the past. But on the gripping hand, on the other hand, like I really do feel like we are in a renaissance for genre products on streaming and in movies and whatnot. So it does feel like it's the perfect time for this to actually succeed. So this seems like there's a great pedigree here. All signs point to wonderfulness. We've had horrible missteps in the past. So hopefully we will be wonderfully surprised and some great vampire streaming show will come out. And then, there'll be a million more people who want to come play weirdo vampire games with me. And everything will be great.
Yes, you did a good job, Derek. That was very positive. No, I think the idea that this group adapted, like The Punisher, The Witcher, Shadow and Bone, which if you guys haven't started watching, even though it's labeled for YA, bangs, and I found a new fandom. And Arrival, Cloak and Dagger, Punisher, these people are used to taking worlds and adapting those worlds for television, and used to taking a long medium, like Marvel comic books and adapting that. And The Punisher was like one of my favorite TV shows when that came on. And so, and The Witcher is great, although I could use with more shirtless scenes of Henry Cavill. My only complaint. So I think that this is like, this makes sense to me. They have no distribution deal yet, but it's going to go to Netflix because 90% of the stuff that they've worked on is with Netflix. And Netflix wants a new kind of fantasy world to kind of explore doing an extended series. And so I think this is going to be great. Hopefully it soars. This is a great day for Vampire the Masquerade fans. We are winning. We are on top. It's all turning up.
It is our time, right? Because isn't it like the whatever was 30 years ago is popular now kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Like there was
all the 90s shit that I love.
How long ago was it when was it like early 90s Buffy, Angel, Anne Rice Interview with a Vampire, right? Came out, I guess. It's around that time. But does Twilight interrupt that cycle?
Let's go back, okay? Because Twilight, we need to have a conversation about this, all right?
Okay.
It It is problematic, yes. Is it well written? No. Is it good characters? No. Is it likable? No. Is it a good fun read? No. But I will say this, okay, that people's hatred of it was a lot of that due to just sexism, because people hate anything that girls like, and anything that girls like is considered silly and stupid, and boys like all kind of silly, stupid stuff, and we leave them alone. So
I've got comic books on my shelf. Yeah, I mean, it's silly and stupid. And
Emma, what did you were starting to say? I'm sorry, we missed that.
Oh, I have this really weird thing with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. For the longest time, I didn't know there was a show. Like, I never watched the show, but I watched the movie. So people would like talk about this, and I'd be super confused because I keep thinking about the movie, like the '90s movie. I'm like, oh, that's Buffy, and I liked it. I like really liked that movie. That like early '90s. I was like, super
I remember like the movie.
That's
I remember the movie being tons of fun.
Like Buffy,
the show had like 500 episodes and spawned 2 spin-off series.
I don't know. I lived in a very rural place. We didn't have cable. We had like 5 TV channels. So that was like,
that's precious.
Like the VHS. That was my.
I'm glad that you avoided early exposure to Joss Whedon, quite frankly.
There are a couple episodes that might be worth checking out, but yeah.
Well, I like Buffy. I even collect the comic books.
Yeah. I could never get into Buffy. Buffy was never quite my thing, but it always felt like the thing I should have loved.
It means that we're going back to sexy vampires who bang. And in Vampire the Masquerade, they all bang. Okay. And
I don't know. I'm more into like the charmed, like sister girl power going on. I know that they try.
They'll sprinkle some of that in there.
I want that.
But also vampires who bang. So very excited. Very excited.
Right.
It's gonna be great. I can't wait for our watch party, Derek.
All for it.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
That happened live on stream.
Like,
so speak about nostalgia and things that like, you know, sorry. Speak about nostalgia and things to get excited about. So basically, what's it called? Creators of the Resistance is launching 21 free social games to play with your hands. So the idea that Don Eskidge, designer of the Resistance and Avalon, has released games that don't require pieces that you need to play with or anything like that. It's just set of rules. So far, they've released about 8 games that you can like simple games that you can either play with your hands or do actions with, and it's supposed to be very accessible to people of all different types. Like, for example, number stomp. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you one. Everyone shows the number of fingers, and each duplicate cancels out. So like somebody hides fingers, right? You go like rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. And you go, ha. And so I have 3 fingers on each hand. And if the persons next to me all had 3 fingers, then we cancel out each other's hands. And whoever is victorious to call out the highest number just wins. Simple games. And then Emma, you were saying like things that you were rehashing and stuff. What, like, from a game designer's perspective, what do you think of these like games that you could just like pick, like get like a little cue card and read it over and just like instantly figure out how to play?
Oh, I love it. I am very much here for this. We were talking a little bit before the show about how it reminded us of playground games, and probably unsurprisingly, I was, as a child, very excited and thoughtful about playground games. I used to make up all sorts of playground games for running, jumping, hiding, mechanics like that, just anything that you can do. These need to be explainable in like 10 seconds to children or other children, or kind of that's the concept or inspiration behind it. These seem like a lot of them would be playable on Zoom, so you could just like with the hands, like I think that would be able to be played on camera, which is awesome. They involve the body and physicality, which is really cool. Games getting you to act and move around, I'm a really big fan of. I love the idea of these. I've even tried to like look up some of these games. I'm not sure how to even categorize them. Like, question to the group, like, how would you describe these? I usually use playground game or maybe parlor game if we're going back to the 1800s. Yeah, there's whole categories of games here where it's just something, it's not a board game, right? Not even really like a tabletop game, even though the rule is on a card. So it kind of falls
Well,
under
I
that
think
umbrella.
some of the games are different than others, even like
Yeah.
not all of them. Like I think a lot of them are dexterity games, or I would think game of wits, where it's like quick thinking, fast action. They're dexterity games without pieces. But I also think that there's some of them that are just straight up social games. Like
Yeah.
the one that's called, I think, I'm Good or something like that.
Mhm.
It's basically, it's Are You a Werewolf? Or
Thumbs up,
Resistance or Avalon, almost like boiled down to the same level that the Mind is, where it's just like, the bad guys open their eyes and then everyone closes their eyes again. And you just have to guess from there and vote people off the island, basically. And there's no other element beyond that. And like stuff like that is just really neat, where you boil it down to the bare minimum that you need to try to accomplish some of these experiences.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
really not that far off from a Mafia or Werewolf. You used to play
Mhm.
those with decks of cards. You don't even really need the decks of cards.
It just, a lot of these games sounds like the Icebreakers games that they made me
Mhm.
play freshman year of college.
Yep, that too.
Oh no,
Which-
that sounds bad.
I mean, I hated it, but I think that this is great, especially after a year of stagnation of just staring at your screens to get you up and moving around and active again. This sounds great.
Well, I think these are not necessarily going to be like, hey, do you like strategy games? Here's some new thing for you to enjoy.
Mhm.
But I think that like if you're meeting up with some kids at a family gathering, like these would be a game like perfect to just like, we're going to play this game for 5 minutes. I have now seen you. I've interacted with you. You've been wound up. I will direct you back at your parents so that I don't need to deal with you anymore. Like these seem perfect for that.
Car games, it's the same thing.
Oh,
I think
yeah, car
did we play
games.
French Toast on here? Or did I describe it at some point? I feel like
I think you
talked
described
about
it.
Yeah, we talked about French Toast, where it's all in the head, it's all in your brains of just, okay, I'm thinking about this thing, get closer and farther away. And they can be really interesting and compelling, easy to teach, easy for people to hop into or hop out of. Like there's so many factors to this that just makes it accessible and memeable, like transmittable amongst people, amongst groups. These are the types of games that can really spread out virally, just get out there. And interestingly, difficult to productize because of that. A lot of times productizing them and making them saleable and making money off of them can take away from them, which is interesting because this is for free. They're just putting the games out there. So
Well, speaking of car games, like another example is More. I don't know if everyone saw that one, but that's one where one player thinks of a number between 1 and 100. Okay.
Oh.
And the other players guess what number they're thinking of. And the only thing that player can say is more. They can't say less, they can't say anything else, but they can say more. And the rules tell you use your tone, inflection, and volume to communicate more than that. And you want to like you win if you can guess the number in 5 guesses. So like that's a perfect card game, especially for a kid, where like they think of 99 and you guess 20, they can scream more. Like it seems really neat to me, basically.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a lot of these games that are coming out with more of like you got to think mentally about a lot of things. Like recently, I think like a couple of like months ago, I bought a book that does like basically solo RPGs without even a DM or character sheets. You just play in your head, and it's kind of like almost like a guided meditation in many ways that you do. You have like certain things that you know that you start off with and how things play out when you imagine it in your head. So I think it's pretty cool. These kind of new ideas of having games without actually physically having games. It's all in the mind. But you want to know what else is always in your mind? Do 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 do, Isabella, tell us about things that go on in our minds.
I was gonna say, please stop before the stream gets pulled and
no,
copyright infringement.
Fair use.
20 seconds.
Isn't there? I guess.
So everyone's favorite weird uncle, Jeff Goldblum, is going to be in a new D&D podcast called Dark Dice, which I was very excited for before I learned that this is not new and is not an original concept. But I just found out about it, so it's new to me.
It's new to you.
It's new to you. Welcome to the world of podcasts.
I knew what a podcast was.
No, but I mean,
I have a podcast anyway.
Radio on the internet.
I know what that is. I didn't know this concept of like fully immersed, fully produced D&D podcasting. I think that that's a really cool idea. Basically, what they're doing is, I mean, it's like if you I listen to a lot of these audio dramas, particularly on podcasts, like oh my God, there's so many. And I can't think of any of them right now. Great.
I'm curious now.
I know, I can't think of any of them. Okay. Anyway, so there's a lot of really great audio dramas that are on podcasts that I listen to. But this idea of having celebrities come in or actors come in and play D&D, and it has the audio, it has music, it has sound effects, it has all these kind of things that are produced, I think is a really, really cool idea, especially if you are, like you're kind of curious about what D&D is. I know a ton of people who still don't understand what the concept of Twitch is. I understand that. It's okay. And you kind of just want to, hear something about it. I think this is a really cool idea. Also, Jeff Goldblum has a very distinct voice. And fun fact, my grandmother used to babysit him.
What?
Extra fun fact.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, my grandmother.
You did not disclose this conflict of interest when we were screening these articles.
It's like, it's not, I didn't do anything. It's not like, it's not that interesting. But I remember my grandmother and I were watching TV and she was like, I remember that because she was like, the whole Goldblum family, they all have really big eyes. And he has really big eyes. And she was like, she called him Jeffy. Yeah, fun fact about that. So yeah, I have other weird celebrity stuff like that, but I'll tell you guys later. So this starts for free on May 12th, and it looks like it's going to be available wherever you find your local podcasts.
So Spotify, Apple, Google, kind of Prime.
Yeah, wherever you find podcasts are not sold but distributed.
Wherever you source your organic podcast in the
those
wild.
free-range podcasts that you go out into the field and they just swarm you.
Yeah. I think this is really cool. I love his, I don't know if you guys saw, but his little character that's up on the Twitter looks very much like Jeff Goldblum. And I think that he's going to do a lot of fun things.
Looks like he cosplayed and then someone took a photo and just drew armor on it.
Yes. See, this is the thing, though. We're in this new era that I think is very exciting, where celebrities are kind of coming out of the nerd closet, and I feel like it's a really interesting time to be a nerd. Like before, we talked about Logic, who's this rapper. He spent, I think, was it the record for Pokemon cards, or he just bought
for a Charizard.
Yeah, he bought this really expensive Pokemon card, which everybody was like, that's cool. Like, we can't blame you. Recently, this past weekend, Post Malone, who my friend calls a sentient men's bathroom, he that's the nicest thing. But he recently dropped a lot, tens of thousands of dollars on Magic the Gathering cards at a gaming store in California. That drew big crowds. People were already there buying Magic cards. Then Post Malone, who it's very hard to mistake him for anybody else because he has a very distinct look. And he came in and he dropped cards. We know that Vin Diesel plays D&D. Joe Manganiello is a big D&D person. Carrie Ann Wool, I think that's her name, from Daredevil, also is a big D&D person. It's just really incredible to me. If you don't know, This guy named Thundercat, who's an amazing musician. He's also really big into Pokemon, and he has a lot of Pokemon gold chains, including this gigantic gold chain that's a Mew, and it's like $1 million.
That's so cool.
And so it's like stuff like that. Like it's becoming more and more mainstream for actors and rappers, musicians to be like, I love. Lizzo performed in Germany as Sailor Moon. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I saw pictures of it. That was for
Yeah.
a whole thing. I thought she was just dressing up because she's into the fandom of.
It's like she did her set as in the Sailor Moon cosplay. Like I just think it's great. I'm not a gatekeeper at all. I love when people come into the fandom. I love when people say that they like this stuff. Becoming a nerd is becoming so basic now. I have to find another thing that makes me unique, but
we have to find something else to substitute as a personality, basically.
I mean, I'm still a weirdo, so that still helps. But at the same time, like, yeah, everybody is into this stuff, and I love to see it, and I love to.
It feels like we're almost at the point where you have to look to find the new actors and directors who didn't play D&D to help their improv, or the number of times that I hear that like some movie was in production and somebody on set was like running a D&D game with other people on set, and then all the famous actors were like, oh shit, I've always wanted to do that ever since I was a kid, and then they just go from there.
I love it. I mean, I was just reading this article about the fight to adapt the Neon Genesis Evangelion movie, yes. Luckily, nothing's happened, but it was all these different actors, producers, directors, famous people, including Leonardo DiCaprio, who were like, I want Neon Genesis Evangelion so bad. Steven Spielberg wanted it. It was just like all these people like anime and video games and comic books and games.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. It's very cool because just like you said, Derek, like there's so many people who play these games, especially comedians, especially to help you with improv. It's just, I don't know. It's cool. We're normal now, you guys.
It's nice. I'm just excited to have like outfits and stuff be more mainstream, and I could get them without having to special order them.
Oh my gosh, that's what I want. Yeah, just fashion, nerd fashion.
Nerd fashion.
Yeah, it is nice. And it's like better now. There's like high fashion stuff too, which I really love. So
are we gonna have to talk about the Hellfire Gala with the X-Men?
Oh my gosh.
Fashion?
Right before this, Phil showed it to me. He like went through the whole thing. That's so cool.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because it's Kevin Wada. Kevin Wada does a lot of that stuff too. Yeah.
Like shut up and take my money. Like I want that. It's like bring it into street fashion, make it accessible. I will.
Not to spoil things, but friends of mine and I were joking about how excited we would be if the Marvel United X-Men had a Hellfire Gala expansion where you could get the minis of all those outfits.
Ooh, yeah.
That's some big brain energy, Derek. Better hold on to that idea.
Yeah, no, that's just a lot of stuff to look forward to. And, as more nerdum things come out, more people would be like, hey, did you guys know that it's supposed to be Goblinization Day? Like 60% of the world's supposed to be, or like a proportion of the world's supposed to be turning into orcs and trolls because, Shadowrun is going to leak onto the world.
Yep. Today's the day that Shadowrun history got weird and magical.
Yeah, weird and magical. So let's hope for magical.
Are you not familiar with this, Isabella? Have we not talked about this before? So you know what Shadowrun is, right?
I would like to know if I'm going to turn into an orc at 24 to 48 hours beforehand, please.
I'm sorry, it's too late.
Yeah.
No.
I think it was like 5 or 10% of the population turn into orcs, trolls, and goblins.
Okay. All right. Actually, I think orcs are kind of sexy, so this is going to work out for me. My dating life is going to improve. Yeah.
But yes, on those, like, it's just a fun little thing. But yes, all the beautiful creatures coming out. But you want to know something else that is launching basically this week for Bundle of Holding? So Bundle Holding starter packs are introducing ready to play RPG deals that just don't expire. This is PDF bundles that just like how a lot of bundles of holdings, they only have like certain amount of time that you can get them before they all disappear, and or you have to wait until they come back again. So this one is just that they're going to offer these like basic ones that a lot of people want to go ahead and want to get into, and they're like games that everyone calls classics, like Travelers, Companions, Shadow of Demon Lord, Night's Black Agent, any of those, and Tiny Dungeon. If any of those appeal to you, that's just going to be open and allowed, like you can just buy it at any time now and don't have to worry about a deadline. Depending on the game line, it's going to be ranging between $25 to $50 for these PDFs. I just like it that it's accessible to everyone, so even if you're like someone who just is starting to get into or interested in these various different RPGs, you can't be like, darn it, now I can't get my hands on it because the option has expired. But now, hey, look at that, you got options. So,
and most of these packages are like the core book, maybe a companion book, and then like 2 to 4 adventures or so. So they do feel like pretty good starter packages.
yes. So, but you know what? That, our friends, is our news for today. That is all our news for now. But we got other things that we want to go ahead and talk about, like bundles with Derek. Derek, give us them bundles today. Ooh.
Wow, watch out, Post Malone.
Yeah, we're clearly coming for you. There's a big danger there. So the bundle for this week is Dust City Outlaws, which is a game that I've loved for a long time. A friend of mine designed it, so I've played it a whole bunch. It is basically a heist RPG in a box. So it's a box set. You open it up. It's got you have like one card for your class, basically one card for your faction. You combine the two together, your character, you're ready to go. You hop in and you just kind of run through the heist real quick. It might sound very similar to Blades in the Dark or something like that, but it's not as dark necessarily. It's not like a post-apocalyptic, steampunk, oppressive dystopia. It's still a fantasy city. It's still got a lot of corruption in it, but it's much more kind of open-ended, and it's much more focused on, here's a box set, let's kind of throw it on the table and play. Fantastic stuff. I really like it. The starter collection is only $8. That comes with the whole box set, and it comes with 4 additional jobs or heists that you can send your group on. And for the bonus collection for $19, you get rules for a longer running campaign and 9 more heists. So you get like 13-ish, probably 14-ish, I think, actually. Different heists in there. You get a bunch of campaign stuff for $18, $88 value in total. It benefits Direct Relief. If you at all like fantasy heists of any kind, I really, really recommend checking it out.
Very, very cool. All right. But you know what it is? It's time now for Kickstarter Court. Please share your Kickstarters today, Derek.
I was hoping you would rap more.
So the first Kickstarter we're going to talk about this week has 4 days left, and this is Blue Planet Recontact. If anybody is a regular viewer, you might remember that we had an interview with the designer a couple weeks back that we'll post a link to in chat. This is a game that is near and dear to my heart because I found it back in its first edition, I think in the 90s. I remember turning the corner at an aisle in the exhibit hall at Gen Con and finding this RPG book that had this very cool like blue cover because you're underwater looking at the sun. It's very neat. I've always loved it because it's this really interesting mix of cyberpunk elements of mega corporations and capitalism kind of crushing and consuming everything. But instead of being set in a usual like cloudy, rain-soaked, neon cluttered city, it is on effectively an entire water world with bright sunshine all the time, like in a South Pacific island kind of thing. And maybe you have gills because you have BioWare that allows you to like swim underwater and stuff. So really interesting, taking a lot of the themes and then transporting it to a very different setting, and giving it kind of a generally different tone. You could play an uplifted dolphin. I think you could play a whale. Like there were just lots of really, really neat stuff in there. It had a wonderfully detailed world and a setting that I loved a ton. And now it is back on Kickstarter again. This is the 3rd edition. So if you like Cyberpunk, but you want kind of a different spin in the setting, you want to get a little bit into Hope Punk, or you just love the ocean, then I strongly recommend you check this out. 4 days left, ending Tuesday, May 4th. Blue Planet Recontact.
Oh, I love the
Waterworld,
idea of
you
hope
say?
punk. That's so cute.
Yeah. Hope Punk and Waterworlds. I like it.
Waterworld, what is with you? And okay, that's
Waterworld
What is with me
How
and
dare
what?
you?
no,
Also,
no, we're not debating the quality of that
debating.
film. We're not. moving on with 5
Bad
days
taste.
left.
Just say it. What is it with me and bad taste?
Listen, we will talk about it off stream. With 5 days left, we have 1979 Revolution in Iran. This game really kind of captured me. I really actually enjoy kind of historical games or educational games. I know that sounds super boring. Every single time that I try to talk to my friends about historical games, like I can see their eyes glaze over, but listen, you guys, history is active, it's real, it's live. We're living in history, especially this year. We need to engage with history. This game is a card-driven 2-player game, which I think is really interesting because it starts from the revolution, the Iranian Revolution of 1979. This is something that is like we're still living in. And if you particularly live, well, I was going to say if you particularly live in America, but also if you live in Europe, and also if you live in Russia, you should know about Iran and its history. And fun fact, I was having a casual conversation with a friend about the Sykes-Picot Agreement, which, you know, you do on a weekday night where you just talk about treaties from the Cold War, and how the Sykes-Picot Agreement is the cause of all the conflict in the Middle East, and that the Middle East is actually destabilized largely due to the Cold War. Anyway, that's a thing for another conversation. The thing that I really like about this game is that it also reminds me a lot of a really great comic book that turned into a movie called Persepolis. If you've never checked that out, I highly, highly recommend it. It's one of the best movies or comic books that's about the Iranian Revolution, which is a really interesting sort of thing. The thing that I also like about this game is that it talks about Iranian history from the perspective of Iranians. So much of what we hear about happens in the Middle East is from a very decidedly Western standpoint, and we only really get a very small history of what's going on in the Middle East, and it's also largely biased by Western interests and also oil. So this game goes through kind of historical events that happened during the Iranian Revolution up to the installation of the Shah. And it really gives you a great perspective. I was kind of sensitive about this because of the fact that it is real people and real people's history, and Iranian history has been infamously very violent and very brutal. But at the same time, so little education happens in the West about Iranian history. And I think that we should learn more about their history because of the fact that we keep going over there and destabilizing their governments and also destroying them and bombing them. And so maybe it would help us to learn about their culture and their people and their history. So yeah, I'm really interested in the Middle East, obviously, and world history. And so I think that if you're interested in those things, you could check out this game as well. So this is 1979 Revolution in Iran with 5 days left.
All right. Also, with 5 days left, Wednesday, May 5th, Shadow Planet, the board game. So this is a beautiful, kind of reminds me of old, like classic 60s kind of like board game that is a sci-fi paranormal, or not paranoid horror strategy game for about 3 to 5 people or fearless astronauts and other beings of this world. The game is a secret identity, secret objective kind of game where each players take on a different role, either I cannot say this word, it's just a speech impediment, cooperating cooperating astronauts, or the Guardians trying to keep all the players trapped on the island, or you either pose and play as the alien trying to escape the planet to destroy the rest of humanity. The game has 6 characters with their own unique decks, but the interesting thing about this game is that you don't actually play the characters. You just all have your secret objectives that you're doing, and you interchange and play cards down in order to make the worker do things. So you might be the captain at one point, and then your next turn, you would be another crewmate. And you're just trying to move the people around to get your objectives to happen. So like I said, artwork beautiful, has that super nice retro flair, and you know what kind of game is without a little bit of paranoia whether or not somebody is telling you the truth or an evil lying alien in your inside. So Shadow Planet, the board game, with 5 days left.
Hey kids, you like Marvel? Yeah, you do. With 5 days left, ending on Wednesday, May 5th, Marvel United has an expansion. If you like the Marvel United game, you can now play with Derek's favorite group, the X-Mans, as my parents would probably call them. So this is a cooperative card game, and they've expanded the Marvel United thing to where now you can play with X-Men characters. That includes heroes, and that includes my favorite X-Men's, the villains. Derek, who's your favorite X-Mans?
You're going to hate me for it. We've talked about this before. You're going to call me extremely basic because it's Wolverine.
I knew it.
Wait, Jubilee is up there.
Yeah,
Jubilee is key to making Wolverine not boring.
We will talk about that off stream. So what's that? What's my favorite X-Men? Mystique, of course. No shocker there. Anyway.
Mystique's great.
So you can play this time in Marvel United, not only as the heroes, but you can also play as the villains. This is a fast-paced cooperative game where you have to fight each other because it's Marvel. Come on, you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this has 5 days left, ending on Wednesday, May 5th. You can get the new pieces. There's also really cool little minis as well of all of the characters that they're included, and there's new stuff inside the game. So if you're a fan of Marvel United, it comes back with the X-Mans ending on Wednesday, May 5th.
So with 7 days left, ending on Friday, May 7th, is The Bleakness, which is a pretty sparse Kickstarter. Doesn't have a ton of details, but a lot of what was there really hinted at this cool, like indie horror, muted surrealism, kind of old school vibe that really just kind of seemed to connect and speak with me. Like, I don't know, it seems like it's a collection of a bunch of just weird ideas and a weird post-apocalyptic road trip adventure thing, but not in a over-the-top ridiculous, Mad Max sort of way, but maybe more like, I don't know, The Postman or something like that, like we've been talking about in chat. So like that strikes me as like, I really love that kind of stuff. This seems like a really interesting take on it. I was surprised that it is using effectively old school D&D rules, but it promises to do it in a statless way. So it's just a lot of intriguing stuff. If you like the idea of weird, surreal survival horror with some very basic rules, then check it out. It has 7 days left, Friday, May 7th, The Bleakness.
So with 7 days left, also ending on Friday, May 7th, I have another expansion for another really popular property called Hellboy. That was really hard to say. I don't know why. So this is the board game extension for Hellboy, the board game. If you guys are a fan of the comic books or if you're a fan of the movies, the Guillermo del Toro one, not the one that just came out recently. We don't talk about that one. This is a really great one. This also has the influence from the original graphic novel writer. What is wrong with me? Mike Mignola, I think that's how you pronounce it. So this is an expansion for that. It also includes a dice game as well that you can play. And this has new enemy cards. It has new case files. If you're familiar at all with the world of Hellboy, you're playing an agent and you're in this organization that basically takes care of like demons and otherworldly creatures and other dimensions and stuff like that. But you're also a demon and your name is Hellboy because you're a boy from hell. That's basically it. So this has a whole new expansion pack inside of it, and it looks like there's a lot more stories, a lot more creatures, a lot more enemies, and a lot more things that you can do with the original game as well. And it looks like you can also use this also as expansion, but if you're just getting into the world of Hellboy and the comic books and everything like that, then you can, this is also kinds of helps expand the lore, which there's a lot of Hellboy lore out there as well. Who's my favorite Hellboy character? Abe Sapien. He's a babe.
Oh,
anyway.
Babe, yeah.
You mean Babe Sapien?
Babe Sapien. Why did I think of that? Yes, he's a slimy boy. He's done nothing wrong. And so if you want to get in on that, that has 7 days left, ending on Friday, May 7th.
Something else that's ending 7 days, Friday, May 7th, is Transmission. It's a share mechanical friends. It's just a lovely little, oh my god, look at how cute Wally vibes board game, worker placement board game. It's not, I know they describe it as worker placement, but it's not quite that, in my opinion, just from looking at all the rules and everything. It's a 1 to 4 rondel game with some beautiful artwork. Rondel, if you guys don't know, is like basically a game that you can only play in one direction and go around the board. So if you want to do something again, so for example, like if you want to go ahead and you already completed a project here, but you want to do it again, you have to go around the board and then you will be able to do it again. It's a ring around the rosy kind of game. Just super, super cute, curious, like very curious, cute robot vibes. Players get to share 4 different robots. But depending on who's playing, each robot has a different ability or upgrade, because the upgrades only stay with the player that is playing the game. So like, for example, like I might have the upgrade for Super Speedy's task to be done, but Emma has upgrades for multiple, like instead of Super Speedy, she just gets double. So I won't be able to get the double, but Emma will. But Emma won't be super speedy like me. So that's just how the game works. These robots move around the board. They collect points that they can be either used to build a pipe wet network, which is collecting more points, or to explore and collect things like little birds and butterflies and like all this human waste that has been left behind, but they don't know what it is because they're robots, and what are humans? Don't know. We just got like lots of plant life and overgrowth everywhere. It's just really super cute game, very like evocative artwork and easy to play, learn rules. And so that was Transmission with 7 days left, Friday, May 7th.
Also, with 7 days left, we have the Disparity Trap board game. The dice are in your hands, but the odds are not. This game is by Christian Telesmar, who you may recognize because Christian is an actor, educator, and entrepreneur. I have to say, first and foremost, the videos for this Kickstarter are amazing. I often badmouth Kickstarter videos and very rarely watch them, but I watched these a couple of times because they're just good marketing, and you can tell that there's actors and directors. I think Christian also directed these videos, and they're just like bam, 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 very on point, very good at describing the game. So this is a socially conscious board game that provides an easy way to have hard conversations around race and privilege in America and how they impact society in systemically dominant and systemically non-dominant ways. So Christian worked with a whole team for this game, and the systemically dominant and non-dominant terminology are from the IST of an ISM paradigm by Dr. Debbie Jenkins, and all rights are reserved for the use of this. So it's a very fascinating, it's a roll and move board game, but working with psychology and actual like data and science to make this game, and concepts that have been really thought about and discussed. So it's a really fascinating intersection of all these things. And mechanically, how it works is basically you're assigned a systemically dominant or a systemically non-dominant role. it's a roll a move, and your successes for rolls are more difficult based on your roll. So you'll, on the cards, it will say like, hey, you just got your diploma, do you get a job? And if you're systemically dominant, your role is easier. So it's like in D&D or something where you're rolling the dice to succeed at challenges, but for some people, and it's randomly assigned, some people it's just harder. And watching the feedback after the people have played these games is that it really internalized this feeling of, hey, that it's totally not fair that things were just harder for me. Or for people who were systemically dominant and they just happened to roll bad, they're like, wait, I'm systemically dominant, I should just get these things handed to me. So just listening to the conversations that came out of there, it was really interesting to see how it was thought-provoking while also being a game. So, it's a way to get these concepts across through in a game scenario. I know I've talked to a lot of people about issues in games and like bringing up things, it's like the troubled life of Billy Kerr. How do you bring these games to the table, and how do you frame these things, and people can be more and less receptive to them. But I just love seeing more of this stuff coming out and being an option and being a way to spark conversations. So that is Disparity Trap board game. Also, the style and graphic design of it is just really cool. So definitely check that out, with 7 days left, ending Friday, May 7th.
Great. With 10 days left, ending on Monday, May 10th, is Fantasy World. And this is a Powered by the Apocalypse system that explicitly is trying to set itself up as being an accessible game and a good entry point for folks into Powered by the Apocalypse systems in general. So it was also very interesting that they noted that, Dungeon World, for example, is the kind of go-to Powered by the Apocalypse system for a lot of folks. And, they recognize why that is, but they wanted to create a system that is more focused on story and emotion as opposed to action, which is Dungeon World. And in Dungeon World, one of the co-creators of that has certainly been in the news over the past 2 years, and has made it a little more difficult for some folks to want to get into that game. So providing another game for folks to get into that is explicitly accessible to new players, to people who are new to Powered by the Apocalypse, to people who are new to games in general, and to try to take the Powered by the Apocalypse strengths and elements and lay them out in a very explicit way, so people can get on board and understand how they're supposed to function and see what the strengths of the game are, was very intriguing to me. I like a lot of what the game or the project says that it wants to do. So I'm excited to see what they'll actually do with a full space for the game. Plus, it'd be nice to have some more. Anytime there's a Powered by the Apocalypse game, I'm always curious to see how that game will be developed and how it will be executed, because there's some really fascinating stuff going on in a lot of those games, and seeing how they're written and structured, I think, is really illustrative to like RPG game design. It's the kind of thing that I recommend anybody who likes RPGs check out some of these games, even if they're not the kind of games you want to play. I think the GM advice, the way that moves are structured, the way that abilities work, is incredibly useful and fascinating. It's also in Italian and English. So if you have Italian family members out there, it looks like I believe the project is from Italy. So it's going to be wonderful getting a little bit of a different perspective as well. And you got 10 days left from Monday, May 10th, Fantasy World.
Say it in Spanish or Italian.
There. No.
Okay, all right.
All right, last but not least, also with 10 days left, ending Monday, May 10th, we have Koi Garden, Harmonious Gardening Card Game. It's interesting that I have these two different games to talk about today, because Koi Garden is specifically pitched as beautiful art, relaxing theme, elegant gameplay, all packaged together. For decades of family fun, the game is developed to mindfully disconnect from everything that is going on today and enjoy what makes us happy. So I think both are great to connect and understand the world better. And also sometimes you just need a beautiful koi garden with amazing components and little snail friends and art. And this is just a very, very pretty game, from the box art to the cards themselves. You're creating a harmonious pond by flourishing your garden and attracting new wildlife. So you get your critters in there. The way you're overlaying the cards is you start to build out this tableau of just a very pretty garden evolving over time. This was created by Floyd Liu, designer of The Refuge, A Race for Survival, Noises at Night, and The Refuge, Terror from the Deep. So again, just very pretty game, pretty straightforward, and yet still strategic gameplay, and beautiful box art. So if all those things appeal to you, you should check out Koi Garden, ending in 10 days on Monday, May 10th.
Alrighty, folks. That has been all of our Kickstarters and the end of TableTakes. But wait, don't go away, because we also have a whole slew of shows. It's not just TableTakes here on Gen Con TV. Let me go ahead and tell you the schedule for this week. Keep in mind, all of these, of course, are Pacific Standard Times, because we are based in Seattle. So streaming schedules is following. Monday, 4:30, join us for the One Man Murder Maze. Basically, it's a one-on-one RPG session, which has maybe disastrous results for the player character. After that, we got 6 p.m. board games with the Brothers Mirth. What's better than two family members, especially brothers, playing board games? Nothing can go wrong. Nobody can just rip apart a family just by playing board games. No. It's all family friendly, all that kind of good stuff. Wednesday, though, we got 10 a.m. This game gets dicey. Let's take that whole concept of playing board games, but then make sure that the players are like a whole ocean apart, and see how they navigate through that. And if that appeals to you, maybe you want to go ahead and check them out Wednesday. Friday, of course, we got 2 p.m. with us, with here telling you all the gaming news that you need to hear, that you need to subscribe to and get to know the know-how and all the deals. Remember, though, follow, subscribe. You can either follow us here on Twitch, or wait 24, or you can follow us on YouTube. Like I said, if you can't catch our live streams live, you can wait 24 hours and it'll pop up right on our YouTube. We got a lot of really cool interviews on there. Also, if you want to check in with more fellow Gen Con fans, check out our official Discord. Links are all there. And thank you all for watching and joining us, talking in chat, telling us all of the things that give you passion and nerddom. Also, thank you, Isabella, Derek, and Emma, and also behind the scenes, Marcus, for handling us and going and being safe. Please let us know if you've become a goblin or a troll or an orc. We would like to know. And you guys have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. And goodbye.
Bye. Dab with the arm you got a shot in. Dab.